Long. Uh-oh. Hold on. James, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, dude.
All right, hold on. All right, we'll get to you in a second. Whatever the hell's going on there.
Halloween, you jackass. What do you think's going on here?
Well, you got kids. You got little kids, so you still have to pretend like you're okay. Or maybe you're a gay man. I don't know. Because James, there are only 3 groups of people who enjoy Halloween. You want to know who that 3 are? Okay, I'll tell you. Fat kids, girls who are looking for an opportunity to dress like a prostitute, and gay men. Which are you, Mr. Halloween enthusiast?
I'm a big fan of Halloween, and I don't fit any of those descriptions. Look.
Do you?
Well, listen, if I'm gay, I'm terrible at it because I'm 46 and I still hadn't slept with a dude, and I'm married with 4 kids, so that beard is really thick. Right, I'm really working on the beard.
Spoken like a Texas youth pastor.
Yeah, that's how it starts, isn't it?
All right, I'm kidding. Look, you got kids. You got to be into it. I get it. You're allowed to be into it. That is the exception. If you got kids, you're allowed to be into Halloween. That's fine. I'm not. Fine. I can do. Okay. What can I do here? Let's see what
I don't listen. I just spent a couple hours handing out candy to kiddos. We had to. It's still out there. The big inflatable like haunted house little entryway that they. Why is he?
I'm changing into a costume. I guess I got to try and do a costume on the fly here.
Fair enough. So I just had a blast, and you just sit on the porch, and my wife is over there, and her parents are here too. So my freaking in-laws are in from New Orleans. But other than that, it was great, and just congratulate everyone on their costumes. Like, oh hey, look, it's Batman. Thank you for keeping us safe, Batman. And you give him candy, and then you see someone that's saw some Ninja Turtles. It's like, hey man, give that Shredder hell. Thanks, man. And then throw some candy, and then someone comes in, they're dressed like Wednesday Addams. It's like, oh man, I just saw all your crap on Netflix. It's fantastic. Well done. And you throw them some candy. It's just great. And so it's also weird because this is one of my weird offshoots of being from the country is no one ever trick-or-treated at my house for 1 second growing up, because if you ever ended up at my house growing up, like, you wouldn't be able to find your way back. But I mean, there wasn't even a thing, trick-or-treaters, because even if you found my house, you would have to walk like a quarter mile up my driveway to
Yeah, right. I always wondered. That's a lie. I didn't always wonder. I'm wondering now. Rural trick or treating.
No
That's
such thing. No such thing.
Yeah, that's different than certainly what.
Yeah, it's not a thing. There's trunk or treats, but I mean, we do hay rides and crap like that. And of course, we'll go into town, or we'll go into like the nearest neighborhood. Like if you grew up in Chapel Hill, like a good place to go would be Betty Drive, because they actually have a walkable neighborhood, and you wouldn't have to go all the way into Tyler. So I did that like a few times, but no one ever, not once, even accidentally, came up to our house for Halloween. It's just not a thing. Like, and when I say like 0, never, whatever, you're not supposed to say that. No, literally no one ever knocked on our door for Halloween, because we were out in the middle of nowhere, and we had a quarter-mile long driveway. So it's just not.
It didn't work.
Okay, well, hang on. So I moved to Dallas, and I live in apartments, and it's not really a thing there. Except when I lived one time, I lived in these really ghetto apartments, and I'm not saying this to be like offensive or anything, but like, all my neighbors were illegal aliens. So sure. They had good rent though, bro. So that was one year when I actually got to give out Halloween candy. And then when I lived in New Orleans all those years, I lived most of it in a house that was in a nice neighborhood, but we weren't on the main drag where all the trick-or-treaters went. So we would actually get random knocks on our door, but not so much that we would even want to do anything. Well, now I live in a subdivision, and our door gets beat down. And it got beat down.
Wait, hold on. That's interesting there. That stop right there. So you live in a subdivision, because honestly, James, when I close my eyes and I imagine where you live, I have no clue. I mean, so okay, this is good.
I know you think I live in like the treehouse from the Swiss Family Robinson or whatever.
Well, I mean, I haven't been visiting yet, and the way you talk, it sounds very rural. So yeah, I think I've romanticized it to a point where you're like ma and pa kettle out there with all your kids. So you have neighbors. That is a breakthrough for me. Okay, you have neighbors. Are you in a cul-de-sac?
I'm not in a cul-de-sac, but our subdivision has one way in and one way out. So
Oh,
there's no through streets. So if you ever turn into our subdivision, it's because you're going to our subdivision.
you are no longer rural. You are suburban. Yes, if you live in a designed subdivision, you are now suburban. You are
Well,
no longer rural.
see, it's there's been so many level ups since I grew up and left here and came back, like, I mean, almost 30 years later. Dude, I'm 46.
Mm.
So I'm coming back to the place I grew up, and it's almost doubled in size. I live like 9 minutes away from a Guitar Center, and if that had been the case when I was growing up, I probably wouldn't have left. Right? It's amazing, like
Who
how
knew there
much.
was a Guitar Center in Tyler? I mean, look at you. I didn't even know that. These are all new things. I can tell you, as one might imagine, my neighborhood here, the one percenter neighbor of Highland Park, very popular with the out of towner trick or treat. A lot of piece of shit minivans parked all over the neighborhood today.
Astro vans.
That very James, you know what? I would love to bring the critics of Highland Park to look at how diverse our neighborhood is. Just look at the diversity among the trick-or-treaters. It is amazing here in Highland Park. Wonderful. I will say this though, and this is a thing, and this has been awesome. James, I've seen 5. Okay, so 5. Just when I tell you what they are, just 5. I know, I've seen 5 of them. Okay. Now, my neighborhood is just filled with trophy wives, like, 30-year-old former strippers married to like oil company
Oh,
VP.
and top tier trophy wives too.
Well, top. Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, we were talking, yes, society trophy wives. James, I've seen 5 of them because they all go for their speed walks. They're all very healthy. They go for their jogs or whatever. James, they're all sexy leotard Barbies this year. And they already look like Barbies.
Like
Yeah.
when they were going skating with Ken. Oh my god.
It is unbelievable. The pink, it's like a hot pink with a darker pink underneath it, and whatever. It's like a crazy 70s Barbie's leotard. They all went out and bought them because they husband's credit card and all that. So it's not like none of these are homemade outfits. These are all like really hot, professional Lululemon quality Barbie outfits. And man, I've
I
seen
gotta say, now that you bring it up, I wasn't thinking this when it was happening, because I had like my in-laws and my kids around me. But looking back, of all the moms that came through in the trick-or-treating experience for the last couple hours that I just went through, maybe one of them wasn't beautiful. Like,
you're a married man. They were all probably
I know, well, I
5s.
don't mean
No,
to
they're
be
all 5s. They're all
disrespectful.
5s, James. You're just a married man.
Yeah, right.
That's what it is. You've
That's
been
how
married
bad.
too long.
Oh, and look, I came up with my own like jokes because my in-laws, my wife and her parents were on the porch next to me. I'm the idiot handing out candy. And so the kids, come up to me because I have the big bowl. And they would say, "What are you?" And I literally said something different every time.
All right,
Just
now in this outfit
enough.
right here, this outfit that you're wearing right now, that's what you were wearing.
Yeah, yeah. This is
Okay. So hold on. All right, I'm not on camera yet, so I can put on my glasses because my
okay.
costume requires me to be half blind. All right. Here is what I think you are.
Okay.
You are a Moroccan tent boy. That's what you are. You are a Moroccan manservant, a Moroccan tent boy.
Right. This isn't quite a fez, but it does have the tassel and it's red.
North Africa in the 1940s
Like
vibes.
yeah, Barbary pirate or a Berber, it's maybe making carpet over there or whatever they do.
I was thinking
Uh,
more Casablanca era, but okay.
yeah.
All right, you're going deeper. You're going back to pirate times. What are you, James? I have no clue.
Well, I really don't know what I am. The truth is, where my in-laws live in New Orleans, their next door neighbor is like these 2 retired Marines. They're like a married couple. And the chick for her side job has a costume shop in New Orleans. And one day they were having a garage sale where they were just like unloading crap from their costume shop, and I went over there and I was like, "Oh man, you'll have a bunch of really good stuff." And so I just grabbed like 8 things that I wanted because they had them marked down to like $10 a piece, and this is like a $70 costume for $10. And and um What's his name?
But what is it? $70 costume.
No,
That
no, no.
entirely depends on demand.
So I got this stack of like 8 costumes, and he's like, "Just give me $20." Like it was a ridiculous deal. So I have all these costumes, and I'm just cycling through, and I haven't even worn them all. And so this, I don't even know what it is. But that was the fun part, because people would come up and they would ask me, and then just to mess with my in-laws, every time I would say something different, so they go, "What?" So they would say, "Who are you?" I was like, "Well, I'm Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon." And then people would come up, "Who are you?" I'm like, "Darius the Great from Persia." And, "Oh, yeah."
Okay.
And then they would just roll with it. And then, "Who are you?" I'm Nicephorus Phocus from the Byzantine Eastern Roman Empire. And they're like, I don't know what that is, but cool.
That's funny for you and all your college friends. These are 8-year-olds hopped up on sugar. Ain't nobody looking up Nebuchadnezzar on their way to the next house. But
No, but
James,
like
if you could touch one.
the parents in the background were having a look on their face like, I might Google that later.
Sure, sure. All right, so James is nothing. I'm ready for my reveal. Now, granted, I just put this together based on things I had within arm's reach because I didn't even move. But since James demanded that we all play the Halloween dress-up game, here we go.
I don't know, Fred Durst.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so here's what I will accept. All right, member of Los Lobos. Okay.
Los Lobos.
Yeah, like, I look like a guy that maybe, like, in a Mexican alternative rock band, maybe something like that.
Okay.
Alright, the first thing that I went with is a member of the Gaelic Kings who you guys wouldn't know, but that's,
Oh,
that's on south side of Chicago. You ever watch Shameless? Okay, so that neighborhood of Shameless, they're like, they're an affiliate of Latin Kings, except they're all, like, white trash Irish. So they all look like, Mexican gangbangers, but they're all Irish dudes, which means that this is not racial appropriation or cultural appropriation because 'cause I'm an Irish guy dressing like other Irish guys in my hometown. So there we go. We'll go with that. We'll go with I'm a Gaelic king.
Gaelic King, and that's a gang.
Yeah. So,
Why would a gang call themselves Gaelic?
wow. Wow. So you don't know what Gaelic is. Okay, that's fine. It's ancient Irish. That's
Well, I know what that means,
I
but
don't think you do, James. Otherwise, you
no,
wouldn't have made such a silly.
no, but when you Americanize it, and on this side,
Mhm.
the ability for that term to be just turned around and made fun of, it's just ripe for.
Oh yeah, no, I know. The stupid among us certainly can't resist, but I think most other people understand that it's more of a cultural thing. How dare you?
I like this guess here though.
I can't see
You
anything.
it kind of looks like you're being Sunglasses E. That's legit.
Okay, sunglasses. I just really want to. Okay, so we'll leave the hat on, but the collar needs to go. Look at this. Look at this. Look at it. It's still just like a real gangbanger. It's still got the tags on it.
The
Uh,
tag, yeah,
yeah, that's
sticker.
it's because this is my kid's hat, and my kids of the generation that they leave tags on. I don't understand this.
Nah, they were doing that when I was in high school. That's when it started. And the
Why?
purpose of leaving the tags on is because it looks like you just walked out the store with it, because you're so drippy. You've got so much money that you are just buying stuff on the fly like that. Uh,
Okay, that
the
was not
idea
what
that
I always
something is
thought.
new and pristine and just came off of a cash register retail transaction is
Okay.
seen in high regard in some levels of society.
Okay, see, and I've always saw it as I just stole it. I always saw it as sort of like street cred. Like I just lifted it. No, what are
You've
you talking
never
about?
you've
Stop. I come from the south side of Chicago. That's not even remotely beyond. Do you know what half the way they dress is supposed they gangbangers are what I'm talking about and thieves. Half the way that they dress is based upon some perception, like droopy pants or whatever. When they throw your shoes over the power line. Okay, that's more of a neighborhoody thing. But yeah, no, I mean it's everything is so that's what I thought it meant. I thought it was supposed to be street cred, I stole this. I don't know. Because if you bought it, you just take the tags off.
Yeah, there is a high point of social status put on things that are just bought, things that are brand new, things that you just spent some money on.
By who?
That has
That doesn't seem like a real social status. That seems like maybe a
That's
social
why they
status
leave
thing
the
among the
stickers on.
lowest class. That seems
That's why they leave the stickers on. That's
like
exactly why they leave the stickers on. All right, before we get into anything too serious, can you indulge me for a second? I hope you don't mind.
James, I can hold on. First, let's address Byron really quickly. He suggested that I should have gone topless and I could have been a thumb. That's a great joke. That's a great line because I do look like a human thumb. But Byron, I would have had to have shaved, and I'm not that committed to the bit. James, back to you.
Hang on. What is this suggestion? April? Seriously?
Y'all should have dressed as each other and acted like them too all show. Nah, that would have been fun.
No.
At some point, it probably would have gotten insulting. All right. What does Al say?
Go ahead.
James looks like bulky Bartakamoose from Perfect Strangers. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I look like I could be from the island of Meepos.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I'll go with that. Very
my
good.
memory is I remember the island of Meepos.
Nice job, Al. All right, James, you've been trying to take the floor now for a few minutes, so go ahead. It's all yours.
Well, this is just the annual Parker Kiddo costume video. We just have
All right. Looking forward to it. Let's go.
Go. All right, so this is the first one. This is Quinlan. She's the youngest. She is the evil, creepy, possessed doll. And then that's Atticus, my number 3. He is the character from the Fall Guys. It's just a game you can play on your phone. There is Rex. He is a stick man. That thing lights up and makes a LED.
All right, can you pause it? I have questions.
Yeah, so actually we're missing a kid.
All right.
What the hell?
Are these all things or are these all highly made up like you and me?
Go. What do you mean?
Like are these things? You said the first one is dressed like that doll. I'm like, what do you mean that? I don't recognize any of these as being things as,
Okay, so the doll one, we got a costume from the Spirit. Look, we went to the Spirit Halloween store and everybody got a costume. That's how this worked out. So this first one is just like a little evil doll. So it's like a little dolly. It's not a specific doll. It's just a generic concept of the evil.
So it's not like from a movie or a TV show on Netflix that I don't watch. Okay.
Now the second kid you're gonna see, my number 3, is one of those inflatable costumes where they have the little fan that blows him up and it just keeps him inflated. Yeah. But it's from a game you can play on your phone called the Fall Guys.
Here's what he learned. He learned that that's a really fun idea for a costume, but he's walking home from everywhere. He ain't getting in anybody's car. Not in that outfit. He can't.
Yeah, well, they got toted around on a trailer, on a flatbed trailer, so it worked. But he did pop it tonight, and he came home all deflated, and it was like the sad moment of Halloween. It's like, what happened to your costume? It's like, I got a hole in it. And he was broken up, man. So it was really sad. Kid number 3, Ellie actually is a pirate wench.
Okay.
And then Rex is a stick figure. So it's basically a shadow costume, which he was the shadow last year, and it was hilarious.
All right, so let me ask you this. Hold on, I'm going to interrupt you. We have questions. I'm very interested in your home life. What level of autonomy did the children have in coming up with these costumes?
We went to the Spirit store and they got to pick it out.
Basically. Oh, so it's 100% them. Because a lot of times parents are like, you know what you should be, because they want to make a viral video and they think, oh, this one will really go, But no, these are all them. They just came up with these because these are good costumes. They all looked great.
Yes. So the last one, Rex, was a shadow costume and it had a stick man kind of piping of LED lights on it.
See, what is a stick? Is a stick man a thing that I'm just not aware of? What is a stick man?
Damn stick man. The real appeal of the costume was the fact that it had the LED.
Go.
All right, so
cute.
Yeah,
crazy
dolly.
Crazy murderous doll. Yeah. In 5 years, it'll be a slutty murderous doll.
Right, and this is a character from a game you can play on your cell phone. It's very popular right now.
Cool.
But actually, he plays it on his Xbox more often than not.
Very impractical, funny costume.
Hilarious. There is the pirate wench.
Oh, she looks great. All right.
11-year-old pirate wench. And then here is the guy, and Rex decides to do a twirl.
Okay. He's stick man.
Yeah,
not a thing.
The blue is the stick stuff that light. It was on, but in the daytime it didn't really show up.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And that's the Parker backyard.
That's the front yard.
Oh, I feel like I now should be there for Thanksgiving. I feel a part of your home, your whole thing.
Come on down because you don't really have a family, so you can just like mooch off of mine if you want.
There it is. Come on down. That's precisely the reason why I never show up at your Thanksgiving. I will go to I have my dance card is full on Thanksgiving, sir.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a piece of me on Thanksgiving. I am a delightful dinner guest. James, what else? You got anything else?
That's why we would love to have you.
No, yours is pity. Yours is charity because it came with a chaser insult. You were like, because you don't have anywhere to go. You didn't have to say that. You chose to say that.
You don't even have a family.
I do have a family. I have a family. They're just not here. I have
Right.
family. I have family, James, who are so successful that they are spread out across this great nation of ours from coast to coast.
That's like in Napoleon Dynamite when he says he has a girlfriend, but she lives in Oklahoma. Yeah, I got a family.
All right, couple of things we must address right here at the start of the show because we haven't done one of these in an entire week.
Wait, hang on. I don't understand that. I am confused at your rules, Pugs. You see my finger? This is pointing not at the guy watching us, but I'm pointing this at you. This is close I get to because you've canceled shows because the World Series is on. It's like game 3 or 2 or something, and we can't do a show. But there's a game going on right now, and we're doing a show. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, we would have canceled tonight's show as well had it not been 10-1 in the 6th inning. So, we're doing a show because the Rangers are going up 3-1. And a little bit of Ranger magic for you. They will win the World Series tomorrow night. Yes. After today's game, do I think there is a battle back in these Diamondbacks? I do not. I feel like the Diamondbacks are getting crushed tonight. And I think that although they did battle back in the championship series versus the Philadelphia Phillies, this ain't that. This is a different time. James, tomorrow, I believe right about this time, we'll be on the verge of celebrating the Texas Rangers 2023 World Champions. And I'm the guy who predicted it on March the 30th. Do you know? Hold on, I'm still ranting. Do you know? I'll tell you when you can talk. When I'm done, Mr. Not Baseball. That's you. You're not baseball.
No.
I'm Johnny Baseball, and it's World Series time. So let me go. I predicted, I know I've been talking, but I predicted this and I've been on board. And let me tell you something. This is no joke. Now, I make no bones about this. The Rangers are an adopted team of mine. They don't have my heart. They don't have my youth. The team of my youth is the team that I went and saw games with my grandpa. Team of my youth is the team that, I first started to love to watch baseball. But the Texas Rangers since 1983, the Doug Rader year, the old AL West rival of my White Sox, they earned my respect back then. When I moved here in 2001, I had respect for these Texas Rangers, and I became a fan. I raised my son as a Texas Ranger fan. In fact, there's a picture of him in a little Texas Rangers onesie when he was about, 5 months old. So when I moved back here, my White Sox were upsetting me to no degree. I decided this season, James, that I was going to get into the Rangers, watch the entire season. Predicted at the beginning this was going to be a fun game. And let me tell you something. And this is all I'm going to say. It is so satisfying when you have committed to an entire season and you have watched games almost every night. I thought it was over. It was over the last week of the season. It is so satisfying to now be looking at this team on the verge and another home run. Oh my God. 11-1 Texas. Jonah Heim, great barbecue, great catcher. It's just great. Go ahead, James, take it. It's just great. I've been watching this team. How many times do you watch a team all season long and then they break your heart? I don't think this team is going to break my heart. I think I'm watching my team be a world champion.
So if they win this, then they're up 3-1, and they just have to win 1 out of the next 4 games.
No, tomorrow is the last game in Arizona. They win this one, they got one more in Arizona.
They're going to win 1 in the next 3 games.
They got to win one in the next 10. 2 of the next 3 are in Arlington. So, unfortunately, I really, really feel, and I've had these vibes the whole time. I mean, from the first series, I was like, I don't know, something strange is happening here. I really, really feel they're going to win tomorrow. I think they're going to win in Arizona. Now, I know some Ranger fans are like, no, come on, you'd be okay if they lost tomorrow. Shut your mouth. This is the World Series. You take your victories wherever they come from, lest I remind you 2010 and 2011 in the St. Louis Cardinals. You take your victories, you come back to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, you celebrate with all of us at the airport. That's how it's done.
How worried are you that they could blow it?
Not at all. Wow. I am not even remotely worried. I think it's over with. I think now this is very cocky, and I've said this a couple of times. It's very cocky of me to say, but again, this isn't my team of my youth. So if they do blow it, you want to see what my reaction is probably going to be. If they blow it, it's going to be, that's a shame. That was fun. That was, but
right.
Like Byron and Adam and Peter, these guys are diehard Ranger fans. It's going to hurt them differently. So maybe that's why I can be so cavalier and I can say, no, this is over. But I have had this vibe. I said it. I had this vibe once before in 2005 when my Chicago White Sox shocked the entire baseball world by winning the World Series in one of the most dominant postseason runs. I felt something. I saw something weird happening back then in 2005, and I saw and felt the exact same thing just a few weeks ago with this Texas Rangers team. That's why I've been calling it magic. I can't explain it. They're just not going to lose.
I'm a perennial a-hole about it, but one of the stains against the Texas Rangers versus all the other Dallas teams, because, I live in Bug Tussle, but it's in the shadow of Dallas. I mean, the Cowboys have won championships right in front of my face, 3 of them in my lifetime, and it happened 2 of them when I was in high school and 1 of them when I was in college. It was amazing. And the Stars managed to pull off, like, the first year I got out of college and moved to Dallas, and I was a dorky little computer programmer. They won the Stanley Cup in, what was that, 1999 or
98, 99? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was amazing because it happened right in front of my face, and I was on Greenville Avenue, Two Dogs, or not Two Dogs. What was it called? Something like that. Greenville and Lovers. I forgot what it was called. It's closed now. Anyway, but I mean, I watched it and that was amazing. And then the Mavericks made it to the finals once. It got close, and then they actually capitalized on it in 2011, and that was amazing. And the Rangers are the last team to deliver a championship in their given sport. And you know what? If you're finally going to get off your ass and get a championship like all the other big 4 teams have done in Dallas, this goes a long way to actually putting me back on a Rangers bandwagon for future seasons.
All right, let me ask you this. Do you...
Rose, thank you. Oh, look, I knew if I just bumbled through it, someone would remember. Thank you. 2 Rose. You were right. That's where I was when they won in 14 overtimes against Buffalo.
So let me ask you this. Do you have a BCS college team? Do you have a college team that are you a UT guy, an A&M guy, an LSU?
Look,
who would be your team? Claim. I got a couple questions for you. So who would be your team? Claim one. Who is your college team?
Well, Longhorns and A&M. I'm equally happy if either one of those win. I went to TBU, and it's like a Division III.
Right. That's why I said BCS. I'm talking about a big time college that could theoretically win a national championship.
But growing up, anytime either one of those 2 teams were on TV and I was watching football, I watched it, and you root for them. And I don't really have an allegiance toward either one.
Well, most Texans I know do not root for both A&M or Texas. It's very split. You root for one or the other.
I can compare this to my experience in other states because it's weird in Louisiana. It's LSU or nothing, and there's nothing that competes with it unless you went to Tulane or you went to University of Louisiana or you went to somewhere else, like the Raging Cajuns or whatever. LSU is just the default team, and that whole state has a default team. In Oklahoma, it is absolutely split, and it is more polarized than Texas is. By twice as polarized, I should say.
I don't think Texas is split. I mean, I do think the 2 big ones are A&M or Texas, but I think the University of Texas dominates over A&M. I think there are far more University of Texas fans. In fact, I would bet, especially here in Central and North Texas, I would bet that the second most popular college football team is Oklahoma. There are so many Oklahoma fans here in Texas.
Yeah, well, A&M country encompasses the entire Houston metro and a lot of Central Texas. And Up in the East Texas where I am, it's super pop. I have a nephew that's going to A&M right now. He is a sophomore. And so once you get that market, I mean, Houston is what 6 million people floating around that whole
Right.
metropolitan area, and A&M is just an hour and a half outside of Houston. If you want to haul ass,
Okay, so let's say and certainly not A&M, but Texas, you saw Texas win a national championship. So boom, you knocked that off your list. You got a soccer team? You got a Premier League team that you watch or one that you root for?
well, Premier League in England,
Yeah,
um,
that's what I mean, because that's the highest level of the sport. I'm asking you at all highest levels of sports that we watch, because I've
yeah,
got a greater question.
I suppose out of all the teams, the one I follow the most and think is most worthy of my attention would be Manchester United, but they've won 1,000
Okay,
champions.
so there you go. So they've got them.
They've won
Not really
UEFA.
a baseball game. You've seen the Cowboys win world titles. You've seen your Mavericks win world titles. You've seen the Stars win world titles. You've done it. You have absolutely done it. Every single team that you have given your heart to some degree or another, you have got to
Well,
see be the absolute best. That's a rarity. Some people die not having being able to check
right.
that
Like
off.
like Cubs fans for 112 years or whatever it
Yeah.
was. But the like even my peripheral teams, so Houston Rockets, they've won. Houston Texans or Oilers have never done jack squat, and that kind of sucks. Even the San Antonio Spurs have won like 5 championships, and that's the only thing they got going. It is kind of nice to see your neighbors, especially because I was living there at the time. The Saints got one Super Bowl in 2009. So yeah, even my adjacent teams, my step teams, my peripheral teams have done really well, except for Houston and football. Like that is one weird just cavern in
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to ask you as a Texan, what was it like for you this weekend on Sunday, seeing the Tennessee Titans wearing Houston Oiler uniforms? Did that bother you? There's a lot of people, a lot of Texans on Twitter had a real problem with that. They didn't seem to
yeah.
understand that the Houston Texans have no affiliation with the Oilers, and the Houston Texans are an expansion team. They're a brand new team. The Houston Oilers are the Tennessee Titans. They moved there. So when the Tennessee Titans wants to show that they've been around for a while and have to do the throwback thing, I think it makes sense, but I'm not a Texan.
Yeah. Wow, there's a lot going on with that. You're asking someone who's in a special place on these front lines right now because something weird just happened in Tyler this weekend that hadn't happened in 50 years. So the company I work for, get this out the way, they own both the NBC and the Fox affiliate in Bug Tussle. And they told us the Fox affiliate in Bug Tussle that you're going to be playing on Sunday, you're going to play the Houston Texans game instead of the Dallas Cowboys game. Bro, we had emails, we had voicemails, we had complaints for hours on end. Like my boss spent 9 hours of his Sunday afternoon. He just went through and he answered every email that didn't like cuss at him or whatever, and every voicemail. He made a whole.
And it was people angry about the uniform?
No, it wasn't people angry about the uniform. It was they were angry that we were playing the Houston Texans game instead of the Dallas
Oh,
Cowboys game in the Bug
oh,
Tussle affiliate here in East Texas.
oh, well,
That hadn't happened since 1971. And look, there's a lot of theories on why that happened. Because in all other instances, they would play the Cowboys game. One of them is they were trying to drum up more subscriptions to the NFL app or whatever. So people in Bucktown. I mean, like, not only are we much closer to Dallas than we are Houston, but uh, I don't know where I was going with that.
that's all right. Neither
No,
did I,
oh, I'm
but it was
sorry.
fascinating
No. But
to get
Houston's not even
stalled
relevant.
at 30,000 feet.
Yeah, Houston's not even relevant this year, like in the least. So even a casual football fan would much rather see the Cowboys game. But that being said, um, I am
Wait, hold on. Relevant. They're actually not terrible, and they've got a really good young quarterback. So
they're not relevant. I mean, I appreciate you being nice, and I wish they were relevant. And I would be very
I mean, I
happy.
guess it's how you define relevant. Like, my Bears are not relevant, okay? The
Definitely
Carolina
not.
Panthers are not relevant, but the Houston Texans are heading in the right direction, and they got their quarterback, it looks like. CJ Stroud is a
Stroud
baller.
Stroud might be, yeah, he might be the quarterback of the future, but they're not gonna do anything this season, and that's
No.
okay. Like,
No, oh, yeah, from that standpoint, yes. As far as, like, this season is concerned, you're right. I guess if you wanted to watch competitive football, you'd be more interested in seeing the Cowboys than the Texans. Yes, point taken.
right, but okay, now all that aside, just growing up where I am in Bug Tussle, the Cowboys come on, and if the Oilers come on after that, you watch the Oiler game and you root for them, and they gave you something to root for, whether it's Dan Pastorini or Warren Moon. I mean, there was some levels of success to the Love You Blue phase, and they got to like a AFC Championship game or something like that. But
I can tell you as a young NFL fan from outside of Texas, watching those very Houston Oilers, the Bum Phillips, the Pastorinis, that era of the Oilers. I can tell you that people outside of Texas like the Houston Oilers. You know why? Because the people outside of Texas didn't like the Dallas Cowboys. But the Dallas Cowboys were really so the Houston Oilers were seen as, yeah, we can because Texas was still seen as a cool place to people not from Texas, and they wanted to like be a Texas supporter in some way. But the Cowboys, so there were a lot of Oilers fans, especially it was sort of a protest to the fact that the Cowboys were everywhere back in that era. It was like, no,
yeah, no, there's a lot to be said for that, but there's also sort of the mystique when you're trying to win the hearts and minds of rural Texans who aren't, geographically pinned to either team. The Houston Oilers also had the Astrodome, which was still seen as like a modern marvel
cool,
when I was
right?
growing up in the 80s,
Yeah.
so there's a certain coolness there. When the Bug Tussle I grew up in, Chapel Hill, won the state championship for 4A in 1989, we played the championship game in the Astrodome, and so there's a lot of attachments to both Dallas and Houston if you kind of float between them geographically.
Well, let me give you the perspective of a kid of that era, who again didn't live in Texas. The Astrodome to my little ass on the south side of Chicago in 1980. The Astrodome was like from Star Wars. It was like probably the way little kids might look at SoFi Stadium today, or maybe before. AT&T Stadium's pretty great, but it's been passed. Like, the one in Vegas is pretty cool. The one in Los Angeles, SoFi, is amazing. But the way kids look at well, that's how we looked at the Astrodome. And then when you see the Astrodome, like next to the Astrodome was not very impressive by 2023 standards, but by 1979 standards, whoa, that was something from outer space.
Well, there's also the incredible thing you can point out, like the Astrodome built in the 60s was the first time we had a giant coliseum that could seat 100,000 people that could be entirely enclosed since the Roman Coliseum did it 2,000 years ago.
They enclosed the Roman Coliseum.
They had like these canvas awnings that they had on tracks that they would roll out.
Guess,
Yeah.
I guess you could try anything when you got slaves, right? It's like people
How
falling from the
they
roof of the Coliseum because they're trying to put up.
No, they couldn't afford to pay those dudes. I mean, the whole thing was a emperor's project. So it probably wasn't even slaves that did that stuff, but they did have the awnings that came in, and it really looked like more like Old Trafford, where Manchester United plays. How there's just like the shade that comes over the stands,
Mhm.
and it didn't like there was probably a hole in the middle just because the way it would have to be designed. But they have pretty solid evidence that they had some sort of awning that was over the bleachers at the Coliseum. So that, I mean, it's comparable on a 2,000-year scale.
The Superdome in New Orleans was also when anything that was a dome before like 1990 was seen as being just like the height of a sports experience.
The
If you could see
Superdome
it.
in New Orleans still looks great, and it has the shape to it that if you've taken just a semester of physics in college, you know that that's a pretty solid setup you got going there because you've got the concave outer wall and then
Right.
the dome, the way it's structured. And like when they originally built the Sistine Chapel, the dome had so much outward pressure they had to like wrap a chain around it so it wouldn't like pop out. But you can see how they've compensated for that in the design of where the dome meets the sort of hamburger shaped concave outer wall. and that's something I always thought would be perfect. Is so it was the Mercedes-Benz Superdome for a while, and now it's the Caesars Superdome. But they should really do the product placement, just gold mine that's waiting there. Is if they do like if they get to deal with say Burger King, and it could be like the Whopper Dome, and they could paint it like a hamburger.
No,
'Cause
no,
it
no,
looks
no,
like a
no.
goddamn hamburger, is what it looks like.
Okay, it does, but you're ruining it, and the only reason that it is still serviceable and why we're talking about it today is because it does still look cool. Now, why does it still look cool? I'll tell you why it still looks cool, and I first noticed it probably about 10, 15 years ago when it was the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. They they went less is more. And that's very Mercedes Benz. That's very elitist. Mercedes Benz isn't flashy. Mercedes Benz is quality. It's clean lines. And that's what that place looked like when it had the Mercedes emblem on it. It looked like a clean Mercedes. It just looked really good, really functional, really stylish, but not flashy.
Okay, but
I'm
hang
not
on.
loving the Caesar Superdome. I
No,
liked it better when it had the Mercedes Benz
all
logo.
right. But it existed for 45 years before Mercedes-Benz
Right.
bought the naming rights. So it had nothing to do with the design or look of the building. It is a great building though. I've
No, 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 it's happenstance that it did just perfectly fit the kind of brand image that I think's, you know, personifies Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
ostentatious, not overly gaudy, clean lines. There was no my point is this, when it was the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, and I'm looking at it now as a Caesar Sup there's no billboards around it, there's no banners hanging, it's very clean. It's very clean and very elegant and very classy, and that was on brand for Mercedes-Benz.
so have you ever been in the Superdome
I have. Yeah,
in
I've
New
been to a
Orleans?
game there.
Okay. Did you go with me and I
No,
forgot about it? Okay.
no, no. This was, about 10 years ago when we were down there. This was a time when, um, you were down there no, wait, what was the reason? Because there was another time when I was working for the branding agency when we would do these conventions. There was one time when we hooked up, and then there was another time we didn't, and that was when we were at the, Superdome for a thing they were doing there.
Yeah, so the Superdome's great because I imagine every single stadium that is built today has this extra level at the top where only the big players go. Now, the only reason I'm there is because I worked at the station that had a suite. I just worked for a corporation that had a suite up there. And actually we only had it for like the first 4 years that I worked there. Like the last 8 years we didn't because they cut the expense.
By the
Uh
way, I do want to interrupt you for a quick second.
yeah.
Modern stadiums don't have a suite level. Modern stadiums have 20 suite levels. So that's how it's changed. The Superdome was able to sell an entire level of expensive rich people seats, and all the ones that came after. That's pretty much what they are. Most stadiums that are built today are about 30 to 40% luxury suites.
You know, I look not to get chase that rabbit. I love that point though, because I can foresee a time when the entire stadium will be
Mhm.
luxury seats once the demand gets high enough and the average or the net wealth of the population gets high enough that that's all you'll need. And
Well, it's
that's
already
all
400 level is peasant level. I mean, anyone who's in the upper those are peasant seats. You know, those are people who go to one game their entire childhood, and they stick them all the way up there. Meanwhile, the kid who goes to a game every week is down in like, $5,000 club seats where they get a waitress and, they're like you can hear the conversations on the bench. Little
yeah, yeah. Well,
sons of bitches.
this crap where I went last year, where it was standing room only, that's not gonna last. That's not gonna be here in 10 years because no, that that's
Well,
not
Well, it will be if they can fit people and charge them. I think it will always be a thing.
right. That'll be like the penny seats for
Yeah.
the Shakespearean theater in the round at the Strand or whatever it was.
Oh.
But look, once you get up into that level, it's something that it's hard to come back down from.
Mhm.
And it's also something that you recognize when you have the trash seats, whether you're sitting in the upper deck in Tampa Bay, like I did a couple years ago, or you have the standing room only seats. You actually have a better experience with the game watching it on TV. And that's a weird thing to admit because you spend a ton of money to be there, but it's true.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. If it's a game that's really important to me, like tomorrow's game, tomorrow's Ranger game, it's I would rather watch it. I mean, I can't say that for the Rangers. I would go if somebody was like, "You want to go to the Rangers?" I'd go. I'd go for the Rangers. But if it was like my White Sox, no, like I want to watch it. And although now that I mention it, we did have that moment when they won the World Series in 2005, and I did go to a bar and I did watch it at a bar. But anyway, point is this, James, you got a minute here? I wanted to lay something on you because we like to exchange new television shows that we enjoy when we think the other might enjoy it as well. And I found one that I've become obsessed with, and I just keep thinking, oh, I gotta get James on this. James will love this, and he can watch it with his wife. It'll be perfect, and you'll really appreciate it. James, are you familiar with the HBO show? Actually, I guess it's a Max show. I think it's on HBO, but I think it's also available on Max. It's called The Gilded Age.
Hadn't heard about it. Nope.
Yeah.
Don't know
Okay.
about it.
Okay. James, I don't know how to. Okay. So here's the story of the Gilded Age. So I remember when it came out. It's in season 2. Season 1, I remember when it came out. It got all kinds of great reviews. And people were like, oh, it's fantastic. But here's why I never went near it. From the executive producer of Downton Abbey. And I just can't with the Downton Abbey. That was like, with me, I was like, nope, I'll never watch that damn show.
Well, I tried. I watched a whole episode, and I'm like, I have no interest in the second episode. They're like, well, it starts slow, but it picks up. And it's like, no.
Yeah, I
No.
never even tried. I just knew. I'm like, a bunch of British snobs? No, thanks. Now, the Gilded Age, James, is a bunch of American snobs. And it takes place in a time in America, in a place in America that I'm fascinated by, that I don't really know a whole hell of a lot about. And that is the Gilded Age of New York City around about 1880. You know, the Astors and the
Oh, that's so
Carnegies and
cool.
the
Because
Vanderbilts.
that was right after Gangs of New York
Mm-hmm.
period, because Gangs of New York was more Civil War. But I'm super interested because when the guy that came over from Ireland landed, he first landed in New York in 1868. So, I mean, that's right after Gangs of New York. And so you're talking about he only stayed there for a couple years. Then he ended up in New Orleans, and then he came over to East Texas, where he ended up staying and creating My Little Clan. So yeah, I'm heavily invested in this because I'm interested in what that dude went through, and I thought Gangs in New York,
well,
with the rabbits or whatever, I thought that was a super cool sort of envisioning of what maybe this dude landed in.
Not a whole lot of that, though. Not a whole lot of poor people. This is about the billionaire class of the Gilded Age in American history. When
Okay.
the Industrial Revolution was making overnight, people who were paupers, people who were grinders, people who were the American dream. Overnight, Wall Street was becoming a thing and was turning these people into a new class of rich. And this whole show, this whole series, The Gilded Age, is about the new money on Fifth Avenue in New York in 1880 versus the old money. The old money being the Astors, the old money being the Roosevelts, the new money being the Carnegies and the Vanderbilts, the people who made their money from this railroad, this dirty railroad, these people. And what's fascinating about it is it's an allegory for what occurred here in our recent time with the dot-com billionaires, where there were suddenly this new money that freaking dwarfed the old money. And it's like the old money is like, I've got $100 million. Yeah. Well, Mark Zuckerberg's 15 and he's worth 2 billion, right? It's like the new money just dwarfed it. So this is about the last time that happened in American history, when all of this new industrial revolution money, these people who came from no background whatsoever to speak of, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers. It's about when these people started moving in to the most Park Avenue in New York, and all that stuff. It's really fascinating, man. The characters are fascinating. The robber barons. There is a lead character, the husband, who plays it. He looks like Andrew Carnegie, and he kind of plays. He's kind of like a Vanderbilt because he's a railroad guy. He owns like 90% of the railroads, but he came from nothing. And he's built the grandest mansion on all of Fifth Avenue in New York. And it's about the Christine Baranski, the great Christine Baranski, lives across the street, and she's old money. She's old money. She doesn't like this new money. It's really fascinating because this time in American history, I mean, it was the first spending boom. It was how the North bounced back from the Civil War. That's really what it was because the South experienced great poverty and great strife with the whole Reconstruction era and all that stuff, but not in the North. The North just exploded in places like New York in all of this money. It's fascinating. It's called The Gilded Age. It's on Max, and I think you and your wife would like it because there's just enough of like catty women, catty rich women that I think it'll be good for both of you.
Dude, this is absolutely something both of us would be interested in because it sounds like a period piece. And
Mhm.
part of the fun is seeing how just they transported their fat asses from point A to point B is just amazing because you and I are so used to just hopping in our car and driving. But there was either a horse or a carriage or a wagon or a how in the hell we like. And so you have these good complex storylines that are timeless, but you put them in a different setting, in a different place, in a different time, and they probably have like winter and snow and other things we're not familiar with, right? And so,
Oh, it's 1882, so cars haven't really come in yet,
right,
although there's
yeah,
someone down the street with one of them fancy auto cars, or whatever they called it.
exactly. And so
They
you take
they
like if you want to go on a long trip, you take like a steam locomotive.
Right, well, now because that's the new thing. That's the high tech is the locomotive. 6 days to San Francisco, they say. A lot of those kinds of
Running
conversations.
on the power of coal.
Here, let me show you. Here's the trailer if you're interested. This is the trailer for season 1, HBO Max, The Gilded Age. I should also say it stars Carrie Coon and one of your chicks from Sex in the City. Who's the chick? Who's the lesbian from Sex in the City?
Oh, Miranda.
Cynthia Richardson, right? Isn't that
Cynthia
her?
Nixon.
Cynthia, yeah, there you go. Cynthia Nixon. All right, here you go. Here's the trailer. I think you
Listen,
guys will like it. It's
bro,
fascinating.
I
The
know my
Guild,
redhead lesbians. Believe me.
yeah, she's great in it. She's good. I'm only 4 episodes in. Here you go.
New York is a collection of villages. The old have been in charge since before the revolution, until the new people invaded.
Well, I'm new. I've only just arrived.
You are my niece, and you belong to old New York.
George Russell is a power in the land.
He's
Before long, he'll
awesome.
put money into his pocket with every train ticket you buy. I think we should know the Russell family.
We do not move in the same circles.
Mama, you are incorrigible.
I take that as the highest praise.
How do you find your aunts?
Zeta is kind, but not clever. And Agnes is clever, but not kind.
Mrs. Van Ryn and her sad sister were spying on me today.
I don't know why you bother with them.
I don't bother with them.
I'm afraid New York can be quite challenging at first.
We haven't found it so, have we, George?
There is no challenge you are not equal to, my dear.
We have invited Marion to live with us. She hasn't a penny.
I cannot live within Aunt Agnes's confines.
You must meet the right people in the right way.
Money isn't everything, Agnes.
I don't understand why they have taken you in.
I have a job and the fresh start that I need.
I want to do something with my life.
For a New Yorker, anything is possible.
You are the future, Mrs. Russell. And if you are the future, then they must be the past.
Well, things move faster nowadays.
I hope you're not against Miss Scott.
She'll disrupt things.
Maybe we need a bit of disruption.
Let the tournament begin.
Why don't we just go outside and roll in the gutter? It will save time.
Do you know Newport well, Miss Russell?
The mistress is not a player in the great game.
That woman is unsuitable as an acquaintance.
I'll make them pay one day.
How can anyone be so rich?
You bastard. I may be a bastard, Mr. Thorburn, but you are a fool. And of the two, I think I know which I prefer.
Yeah, he's a bastard. He is absolutely a bastard. Okay, there you go. That's The Gilded Age. It's fascinating. It's a period in American history that I know very little about, and I fell down a Wikipedia hole about the Astor family today. So
Oh, so do you know their connection to the Titanic?
yes, yeah. Their son was on board the Titanic. Yeah, those are people that made their money. Like they came over on the Mayflower, and then they owned like all the Great Lakes fur trapping business. They were just like dirtbag backwoods fur trappers who became the height of New York society.
Yeah, and it's funny how it's just a handful of families that seem to have I don't want to say like put all of the country on their back and moved it forward, but they were the ones that someone has to be at the top of this whole mountain when we go from being a backwoods agrarian society to all of a sudden within like 50 years, we passed Britain and France and Germany and all these other countries that had a head start on us in industrialization. And it's really the most crucial point in American history that makes us the hyperpower that we are.
Well, one of the truly interesting things that I learned today about when reading about the Astor family is, I'm like, okay, so I know who they are, right? I've heard the name, and look, anything with Astor or Astoria in this country is named after the Astor family. So, like, Astoria this or the Astor that. Anytime Astor Street, Astor Park, that's all
Astoria
named after.
Park, yeah.
Yes, it's all named after that's the Astor family. That's named after them. But they are not as high profile as, the Rockefellers and the Carnegies, and here's what I've learned. Those people, when we think of the rich people from back in those days, the Anderson Cooper's descendants, we think of the
The Vanderbilts, yeah.
Vanderbilts, and we think of Andrew Carnegie, and we think of John David Rockefeller, and we think of the Wall Street Titans, and all this stuff from back in the day. We don't really think about the Astor family, and here's why: because the historical fight between new and old money was so real that the Astor family around 1910 essentially picked up out of America and moved to England. They ceded all of this influence and power to the new money, the Carnegies and the Rockefellers. The
Yeah.
Astors are now a nobility in England. They're all like barons and all. They bought baronships. They got out. And this show is about that clash when the new money suddenly collided with the old money at a time in New York City when money was flowing like crazy money.
Yeah, and that's something cool that like with the Titanic, their influence in America ended with the
Mhm.
Titanic, and they became like an England only company after that. And that's really cool to see because you see how it repeats. It sort of echoes the way civilizations do, where like the first generation or two on the upswing are the ones that are nitty gritty and they know what it's like to be a hard scrabble, or, work for everything and earn everything that you own. And then the next generation is a little softer, and then the third generation has no idea what it's like to struggle, and so they make similar
Yeah.
mistakes, and they're on the decline. It's the same way you see
But that's the generation that gets chased away by the new generation of hustlers who came from nothing. It's that third generation silver spoon who best schools, easiest life, all the privilege and all that stuff. Those are the people who squander their that's the generation that blew it for the Astors.
right.
That they couldn't compete with young Andrew Carnegie, who came from nothing and was now the richest man on the planet.
Right. And who would have thought Sears Roebuck would have gone away? But it's Jack Squat now, isn't
Right.
it? Who
Yeah.
would have thought Gimbals would have gone away, or Safeway, or Skaggs Alpha Beta, or whatever you were used to, Blockbuster, whatever you were used to 30 years ago that's gone now. Hey,
MTV. For all intents and purposes.
it's just a big sine wave. Yeah.
No, it's just it's interesting. It's interesting about how I don't know. I don't really know anything about that period. Like, it's not the jazz age. Like, I'm more familiar with the 1920s, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Gatsby, jazz age stuff, 20s and all that. But I really don't know anything about the Gilded Age. It's
Well,
a phrase I've heard, but
it's something I want to know more about, because at the
fascinating.
ground zero of all these amazing American families, whether you hold them in high regard or not, like, like the current incarnation of the Vanderbilt legacy would be Anderson Cooper, right? And
Mhm.
before him, Gloria Vanderbilt, who had like the perfume my mom
Jeans.
used to wear. But the original Vanderbilt dude was an absolute industrialist badass.
Cornelius, the commander or
Yes.
the commodore. Yeah.
Yes, so he just started out like running a ferry between like New York and what
Right.
was it, Long Island, or New York and New Jersey? I forgot which one it was. But then he ended up coming up with the steamship line that came from America to England and back. And
It was the White Star line that the Vanderbilts ran. The White Star, the line that owned the Titanic. That
right,
went.
and his competition is that was this guy named Collins, who actually got subsidies from Congress to compete against Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt still beat him, and then just by happenstance, and then the potato chip along the way, just to come up with something to serve his passengers on his steamship. Like America is full of amazing stories like that, and the original Vanderbilt is far more like worthy of glory and praise than Anderson Cooper or even Gloria Vanderbilt. I mean, what? That's
hold on. You sold him short, because his third act was what was really incredible that the Vanderbilts did, which was, I don't know, like a year before anybody else went full on into it. Cornelius Vanderbilt switched from shipping as his sole thing and got involved in this new thing called the railroad. He ended up owning like 80% of the railroads he was already a super rich guy because of the shipping. He was already a Vanderbilt. And then this new opportunity came and he like quadrupled his net worth with railroading, because that became a thing in like 1870.
Yeah.
He laid all the track.
Yeah, I think more specifically, just as a happenstance, because I did a deep dive to the potato chip one time for my show on radio, and Vanderbilt just kept asking the chef on his rail line to keep cutting the potatoes thinner before he fried them, until the point where the chef was like a dick, and it's like, I'm just gonna cut them so goddamn thin that there's just gonna be like this crispy, stupid wafer after I fry them. You know, he doesn't leave me alone. And so he started an event to Cornelius Vanderbilt. He's like, finally, that's what I was looking for. Yeah. And you know what? This actually stores well. And if you dry it out, it doesn't rot immediately. So this would be a great snack to use on my steamship line and on my rail line, because we have to go long distances and we don't need our food to rot as fast as possible. So this will be great. And that's where the potato chip comes from.
Okay. I love that story. Now let me tell you where the potato chip comes from. So Al Capone was in New York City at a dinner club up somewhere outside Buffalo.
That's
He was
like
having a
60
meeting.
years later, dude. That's like 60 years
No,
after.
it doesn't matter, because both of these stories are bullshit. All of the origin stories of potato chips are bullshit.
I believe that.
Al Capone was he sampled something that the chef made. He said he couldn't have heavy starchy things, but he was doing stuff with potatoes, so he sliced them really thin, fried them up, gave them to Al Capone. Al Capone loved them so much he went back home to Chicago, where he controlled all of the bars and the speakeasies, and he told his guy, Jap's Nuts. He told Jap, the guy who brought nuts and stuff for people in the speakeasies, hey, you got to make these potato chips. So Jap started making these potato chips. Now, that's the potato chip story about how Al Capone popularized the potato chips, because he sold them in all of his bars, and people would come through Chicago back in those and be like, I have these things, and they became a national thing. Jap's potato chips, by the way, for anyone in Chicago listening who knows, Japs had to change their name after World War II broke out, because they couldn't be Japs potato chips and be selling, because Japs weren't exactly popular. So they are now Jay's potato chips, of course, an iconic Chicago potato chip brand known as the original potato chip. Says we're the original. And it comes from Al Capone. Al Capone popularized it. And that story is also just fable and rumor, but I choose to believe it's true. You can have your Cornelius Vanderbilt story if you want. I'm going with Al Capone.
Are we going to have a potato chip off?
Well, here's the problem. If your dude popularized potato chips in like 1870, dude, there weren't potato chips anywhere till the 1940s. Al Capone's time. Your guy didn't popularize dick.
All right, so we're going to go to the potato chip Wikipedia page. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's see.
Because I'll be willing to admit if I'm wrong, because I'm wrong a whole lot. But so here we are, potato chip on Wikipedia. Everybody see this? History. The earliest known recipe for the potato chips comes from William Kitchener's book, The Cook's Oracle, published in 1817, which predates both of our bullshit stories. But here is a reference to Cornelius Vanderbilt. So I'm going to lean on that.
Okay. So you're going with that?
Well, let's start the paragraph here. The legend associates the creation of the potato chip with Saratoga Springs, New York. Decades later, in the first recorded recipe by the late 19th century, so 1800s, popular version of the story attributed to George Crumb, a cook at the Moon Lake Slaney House, trying to appease an unhappy customer. So Cornelius Vanderbilt. Crumb was already a renowned chef at the time. So that's where my BS comes from. I will see if there's a Capone reference in here.
Well, hold on. I will take this from the Unbridled History of Potato Chips, which is a book about potato chips. It says, what you might not know, however, is who is majorly responsible for them.
Put it on the screen. Share.
Okay, Jesus. Okay, here we go. But all right. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'm sorry. I'll just do it like this. I got a way to do it easy.
Come on, man. You're ruining Halloween.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The cursor won't work on the computer. So hold on. I'll get it. Oh, for fuck's sake. Seriously. Hold on. There we go. This is upsetting. Yeah. All right. So this computer doesn't work. So I'll have to share it on the other one. Hold on. Sorry.
I have Barney Styles' comment up. Chips were invented by a black man named George Crumb. Yeah, that was in the Wikipedia article for potato chips. I hear you, bud.
All right. So I don't know. Okay. So I'll share this one. I had to close out the other one, but here. All right.
Jay's in Chicago.
All right, Jay's Potato Chips. How does Al Capone figure into the Jay's Potato Chips story? If you're from the Chicago area, you probably grew up eating Jay's Potato Chips, but the story may surprise you. Okay. So I had the full story on the other page. This one is apparently not going to.
But the story may surprise you.
So we don't need to watch a 9-minute video. There's a 9-minute. All right, here's Southside Weekly. All right, I don't know what this was. And there's a Facebook page, Al Capone invent the potato chip. As I grew up, Jay's faded into childhood memory. My commutes in Hammond, Indiana, when I was at Purdue Calumet rekindled my love for Jay's. I would have blah, 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 the Jay's. Come on, give me the story. The story of how Jap went from street peddler to factory owner includes none other than Al Capone, who encouraged Jap to open factories and mass produce his snacks for Capone's speakeasies. The potato chip entered the trade about a year later when Capone urged Jap to make them after tasting one in Sarasota, New York, where potato chips were invented. There you go. And he put them in all of his bars. So there's where my story comes from.
So we're both right.
No, we're both. Neither are true. What I'm saying is, this is American mythology. This is legend. Right? These are. Yeah. Do you know the story of Abner Doubleday? What did Abner Doubleday do?
I had no idea.
Oh, you really don't know Abner Doubleday?
No.
You consider, honestly, this is shocking. Like, if I just said who's Abner Doubleday, you don't know who Abner Doubleday is.
Oh, I need to go to the bathroom. Can we end this?
Yes. James doesn't know who Abner. That is such a giant hole. Okay. Abner Doubleday invented baseball. You don't know who Abner Doubleday is?
Oh, well, in that case, I'm glad I don't know who he is. He's an ass.
But you should know who he is because you're a smart person. This is a weird random thing for you not to know because you mentioned Nebuchadnezzar earlier today and you don't know who Abner Doubleday is.
Who killed more people?
Dressed as, well, that's probably true. All right, you can go. He can go. There he goes. I can't get the song. He's got to go pee-pee. Let him go run off. That's probably. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Join us tomorrow at noon for the High Noon Report. We're going to be getting into that. That's hot topics, current events, anything that's trending, all the day's news. Is the game over? Holy shit, it's 11-5 in the ninth. I'm going to go watch the rest of this game. And isn't it great? 6 runs. We got a 6-run lead in the 9th. There's a little bit of drama, but not so much that we're, I'm going to be able to fall asleep tonight. All right. I have got my poetry. My God. Diamondbacks are like a 5-run, 4 runs. It was 11-1, but a 4-run rally and just for nothing because it's just too insurmountable. There's no way. All right, James can go. Boom. How crazy is it that he doesn't know who Abner Doubleday is? I think I got to play a new game because James is incredibly smart. He's really smart, really well read. And like he'll just in passing and casually just reference some really obscure individuals. He doesn't know who Abner Doubleday is. That's weird. He doesn't know who Abner Doubleday is. He honestly has no understanding that Crosby, Stills, and Nash were like a big band. Like he thinks of them as like an indie garage rock band that never really made it. Just because he's so smart. And then there's these, everybody can't be everything. I don't know. I may not be as smart as him, but I am certainly glad that I know people like Abner Doubleday is, and that I understand how successful. I'm not talking about liking or not, although I like Crosby, Stills, and Nash very much. I do understand how successful they were. They were incredibly successful. It's bug tussle stuff, man. You're raised out there. Look at that. We learned that he lives in a subdivision. Had no idea. No idea. I thought he lived in I don't know what I pictured. I think I pictured like a shotgun shack in the middle of like a holler with a bunch of kids. I don't know. That's how I want it to be. I know it's not. They're sophisticated, elegant people. They've come from the big city of New Orleans. This isn't a bunch of rubes. What else? Anyway, I got nothing else. You guys have a good Halloween. Rangers 11-5 in the 9th. I'm having a pretty good Halloween. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. High Noon, the High Noon Report, hot topics, current events, trends, all of that good stuff. Tomorrow, 12 p.m. We do it every day. Non-political talk radio the way it should be. I'm going to take off my weird. I had no outfit. I mean, I just had to look around and put stuff together. James forced me to throw a costume. This is a costume. Bye, everybody. See ya. I'm going to go. Oh, you know what? Oh, you guys. All right. This is only for you people who listen to the daytime show. I'm out of my mind. I am out of my mind with washing clothes in the bathtub. I can't stop. It's like, it's so easy. And it's like, I like doing it. I don't know why I like doing it. I don't like doing actual laundry. Like if you told me put the laundry in the basket and then go and you got to put it in the machine and then just pour it in. And for some reason, I can't bring myself to do that. But today I was just sitting here and I go, I want to clean socks. And I just threw a whole bunch of socks in the bathroom. I'm cleaning the socks. I'm like, look at me like a pioneer woman. I don't know. I think it's very exciting to me because, I don't like doing laundry to begin with, but I also don't like, having to call Lee and be like, hey, you around? Yeah, I got to do a load. All right, come on, bud. Come in the back door. I'm like, that's fine. He's one of the great people of my life, so I'm not saying that I don't like to go over there, but you don't like to be the guy who's like, hey, you gonna be around? I'm gonna go in there. I need to do line. You don't want to do that, so I put it off. But now, man, are you kidding me? If I need something to wear now, it's a 2-3 day process because it takes forever to dry, especially when it's like 40 degrees, which it is right now. All right. Yes, I did. I tried to dry my socks in the microwave and it didn't work. It's just, I burnt my hand on hot socks. I don't know. Seemed like something I could try. I'm like, hey, I bet you these socks that are wet that I really want to put away. And that's the only reason I want them to be dry because I wanted to put them away. I don't want hanging socks around. You know what I mean? Ugh. So I put my socks in the microwave and I microwaved them. I burnt my hand. That's who you people been listening to. Bye. See you tomorrow.